Hi, everyone. It's Deborah Hamilton. I'm so glad to be back in my own house after, oh God, 27 hours out to Colorado and 29 hours back from Colorado. So you've tuned in for the MAAP community call. MAAP stands for Making a Plan for Your Pets. Make a plan, appoint caregivers, address the needs of your pet, and publish. And boy, did I learn a lot about that during my trip across country and my trip back. So before I dive into all the actions we had while we were driving, hi everybody, back and forth from Colorado, I'm going to check in with my wonderful community. I'm going to ask Connie how she and the kids are doing, and then I'll ask Sally how she and the kids are doing. Connie, how's everything going?
We're doing great. Thank you. We enjoyed watching all your adventures on Facebook and your very high energy dogs just sprawled all over your hotel beds. They are quite the bed warmers at the size of Irish setters. But at any rate, we're doing fine. We're between dog shows. I am proud to announce that my boy Casey now has 20 out of 25 points toward his grand championship. And in just a couple of months, and about five or six shows worth. And we are hoping to finish him the last weekend of the month at Burbank Kennel Club. If not, there's Santa Barbara. And he has 4 majors, so he's fine. We just need the final single points. So it's been very June gloomy here, but we're starting to get a bit toasty. And in fact, when the heat started to crank up, guess what? Wildfires did too. And there was one that started a couple of days ago. In an hour, it went from an acre's worth to about 900. So, and I think it's burning at about 1,000 acres now. It's up near one of our local SoCal ski resorts in the mountains, and it's like 5% contained or something. And just today in Facebook, I got a notice from my congressman, Ted Lieu, warning everybody, do you have your wildfire plan in place? Wildfires are here.
Yes, I do.
Absolutely. So, and in fact, I came home from running errands, I guess last Friday, and found a tag from LA County Fire on my front door saying, we were here, we inspected your property, and your brush clearance is fine, which is always a worry backing onto a canyon. And fortunately, my neighbors are very diligent too. So it's when you hear choppers overhead, you're actually relieved when it's the LAPD, right? After a criminal.
Instead of a FD, fire
exactly
dropping retardant. Yep, absolutely.
Exactly. When you see the red choppers, you start running for your car. When you see the black and whites, you just you don't worry.
Oh, I know. It's a nightmare. So I am so glad that Casey's almost a grand champion. That's fabulous, and I hope he gets it next week and doesn't necessarily have to go ahead to the Santa Barbara. But always see good friends at shows. So
absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, we're planning on just going up there, if nothing else, just to spectate and have fun.
Perfect. Hey, Sally, how are the girls? How are you doing?
Am I muted or unmuted?
You're unmuted. You're good.
Oh, great. Well, the girls are fabulous. Of course, my dog sitter just canceled on me we're going on a 10-day trip. And I'm like, okay, I've got the MAAP plan, and I'm like going, number 1, number 2, number 3, everybody is a no. I'm going, okay, plan B. And we have a substitute. She came over, I met her, and she'll come next week, and I'll go through all the food and walking and that. It's like you have to update I so frequently, because it's like, these are people I trust totally. And, I'm up against the wire. We're ready to go on vacation. It's like, nope, not going to happen. We can't do it. How about you? Nope, can't do it. I'm like, so as far as, the other people down the line, keep updating constantly.
I am so glad you said that, because I have to tell you that today was the first day I ever dropped a dog off at a kennel. And I'm not against kennels, don't get me wrong. Kennels are fine. This is a beautiful kennel. It's in outside of Wake Forest, North Carolina. And it was beautiful and clean and wonderful. They do not have a lot of warmth when you drop off the dogs, I think, because they don't want the blubbering mother at the it is an issue with your setting. Okay. No, it's fine. I don't know. But anyway, so they took the dogs. They were happy to take the dogs. The dogs, because they're show dogs and they've been almost everywhere. Mariah and Junie, they went in, didn't even bother to really say goodbye. I said goodbye. They could care less. And I left, and I'm sitting in the parking lot going, well, that was like the bum's rush. But you're right. You have to make sure that you have these things up to date, because things happen to people. So I'm glad you found someone else, and that I will be up there. Just call me. So, never hesitate to say, Deborah, you're our last resort. And I'll be like, I'm there in a minute. Because I'm only going, I don't know when your trip is, but I would make sure that either Jim or I would be there, because the kids are staying in till the 25th. And, worst comes to worst, we would work it out. So never forget to call the ultimate hoodlum, me, to come up to take care of the girls, because, I would.
It's interesting, Deborah, because the woman whom we've, temporarily said yes to, she worked at the boarding facility that we are not going to use. And she said, it's summer, everybody's traveling, and they're including so many dogs. She goes, I would not include those dogs. Yeah. They're a little bit aggressive. There are too many dogs. Everybody's like totally like hyper in this like interactive, play and no rest time. She said, so I left. And I'm like, yeah, I have older dogs. That's like not a good thing.
Yeah, they want nothing to do with that. Yeah, I'm sort of going to see how this works, because of course I've never done it before. But Junie is 5.5 and Mariah's 2. And I'm hopeful that when I sign them up for a nature walk, they're not interacting with anyone but themselves. I mean, in the kennel, they'll interact by the fencing, but they're not interacting with anybody but each other. So they'll go on their nature walks together, they'll go into their playtime together, and they'll go swimming together. But other than that, they're in 2 separate kennel runs. And yes, they're in with Gen Pop, so to speak. But, I'm hoping everything is okay. They have all their vaccines, which of course, if you take your dog to a kennel, it has to have all its vaccines. So that's very important. And making sure that, your dog is pretty stable around other dogs. If your dog isn't stable around other dogs, or if they're older, and you have to, of course, wherever you live, I don't care where you live, whether it's California, New York, North Carolina, Connecticut, it really has to be air conditioned in the summer. You cannot leave a dog in a situation that is not air conditioned 24/7. They can have in and outdoors where the dogs can go in and out, but they need to be air conditioned inside so they can get away, especially here in North Carolina, from the heat. So I'm glad the girls are doing well. I've heard from one of the people who are here on the phone tonight, Kathy McNamee, that she's going to be making the dinner that you make for the girls. But she said she would make it for herself because it's so delicious. So it was very funny. I saw her today. So I'm going to check in with you, Kath. We can only see the top of your head, Kath. So your camera's a little cattywampus. There you go. Perfect.
But I'm not on the top of the screen.
That's funny. You're not. I know. I don't have any idea why.
But I'm here. I'm here. And I will fly to Connecticut anytime.
So these are 2 people who you could call anytime to come take care of those old ladies. And we both have significant others who will take care of our dogs. So please don't ever hesitate to call, and we will take care of the old women, because I'm an older woman and I
don't call them old women. They're beautiful women.
I know they are. For everyone who's listening, Kathy actually was up in Connecticut and stopped by to see Athena and Roxy, both because she knows them and loves them, but also because she was doing it on my behalf, because I sent kisses and hugs with her. So they got to see them. So it was really fun, and she sent great pictures. Hey, Jan, how's your baby doing?
Oh, he's good. Where in Connecticut?
New Milford.
New Milford. I know exactly where.
Oh, because I'm not that. I mean, I could always. I mean, it's far, but I could. I mean, I'm in Connecticut.
So there you
I
go.
live there. I live outside Hartford,
Thank you
so
very
it's a bit of a schlep. But in an emergency, especially, you could call me. You know, that I mean, that's not a big deal. I mean, you know, nothing. You know, it's like
That's why we have these
45 minutes, 45 minutes, 50 minutes.
That's why we have these calls, because of the fact that you don't know who's living right next door. So you guys can connect, and just to be an extra telephone number on the wall, just in case, you know.
Just in case, you know.
Just in case.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime. But
everything good with you, Jan?
yeah, I'm one of the few people right now who's not traveling at the moment. But I'm trying to think of planning something, but not sure what I will do. Thinking about a trip I have to take in September already, though, but because I'm trying to figure out locally, I really don't have a place to leave. I'm going to have to start looking.
Yeah, absolutely. I started looking in February for this trip, for me going, you know, for the wedding and then to Austin to the conference. So I started looking in January. It books up pretty quickly, and September's a busy month. So start now.
I would probably, but I'm either gonna have someone come and stay at my house, or I'm gonna take them to his house. Yeah. So that's just what I feel more comfortable with.
So do I. And I can't leave them at my house because of the fact that I have no fencing for the young girl who's just coming here. I wouldn't be worried about Junie because he doesn't go anywhere. But the young girl who's going to stay the summer with me, who I co-own with someone, has never been here. And so to have her here a day and then leave would not be fair to anybody. So I figured this is the safest way. I'm hopeful that they spend 10 days. And then when we get back, our fence hopefully will be up. It isn't. It should have been, but that's a whole nother story. And then I'll be able to train Mariah to be such a good girl. So Kathy, how were the kids after we left? Everything was good?
Yep.
Good. It was amazing. So Kathy came with me to the kennel, and she actually introduced herself, because if one of the kids gets upset or doesn't eat or whatever, I alerted the kennel to call me, and then I will tell them this is the person who will pick up the dog regardless. And Kathy had a change in plan and is staying home, so she is available to make sure that if they have an issue, they will be picked up. So these are the kind of things that everybody has to think about. So 647, I don't know who that is, but if you would like to speak up, I know I'm going to check in with Kieran in 1 minute. But if you'd like to tell us who you are and what your pet names are, we'd love it. If not, there's no pressure. We chit chat all the time about things of importance for the MAAP plan, which is making a plan for your pets and addressing the needs of your pets and appointing caregivers, and of course, publishing all of those plans with people. So if you'd like to chat, just unmute yourself and say hello and tell us who you are and your dogs. I'll give you about 15 or 20 seconds to figure out how to unmute. And if you don't, then I'm going to, of course, go to our dearest guy in Tenerife, Kieran, and check in to see how he's doing. You're muted though, so you can't say a word. There you go.
Good evening, Debbie. Kathleen, may I say it? Do I have your permission to say it?
Say what?
Good evening, beautiful women.
Oh, good evening, gentlemen. And they're I don't know why Deborah calls them old ladies. How dare you?
Terrible,
that's
terrible.
well, because they are the older, they're all older, mature women. That's what they are. The girls of Rum Raisin. So yes, they're older, mature women. You're right. So, but Kieran, you are just one lucky guy. I mean, look at this. This is like, I don't know who 647 is, but if it's a guy, he should come aboard. If it's a woman, then you would really be in Treatsville.
Yes, it sounds like the prayer. You know,
And
blessed art thou amongst women.
Blessed art thou amongst you are. So tonight, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the antics of driving cross country with one dog and then driving cross country back again with two dogs. So we had a really uneventful trip across. I must say that Kansas and Missouri And the lowlands of Colorado are the most boring places to drive through on the face of the earth. And if you're driving,
I know, because I grew up there.
right? And if you're driving through Colorado, going to Greeley, you're going past, hi, Gracie, you're going past a lot of the holding pens and slaughterhouses. So it would make you a vegan in about a minute and a half. And all the cows and the big trucks on top of each other. Oh, it would be a vegan in a minute if you go there. I mean, terrible. And then in Greeley, they call it the Greeley funk. It's when the wind blows a certain way and the feedlots blow into town. The smell of the feedlots blow into town. And the girl who was our server said, well, they told me 21 years ago I'd get used to it and it wouldn't bother me. And I can tell you now that it still bothers me and it's not. So it was an interesting experience driving in. The place where we had the show was called Island Grove, beautiful. We had a lovely camper that we stayed in that was air conditioned, thank God for Junie, because we had weather that if any of you who are listening or who are here with me, summers are getting to be brutal. They are getting to be really brutal. If you're taking a dog with you, do not depend on the air conditioning in your car. Bring battery operated fans. There are great ones that go on sale for Father's Day. Ryobi has this great yellow and black fan that has a battery that you charge. It's a 24-hour battery. And if you buy it at Father's Day, they give you an extra battery. So it comes with one, and then they give you an extra one so you can charge it while you are, ostensibly driving. And then you go to, Walmart or something and buy one of those chargers that fit in the lighter that actually can be plugged in to the charger. So while you're driving, you can charge the battery that you'd already used while you're using the fan. I mean, I don't care where your dogs are in the car. Sometimes they need a fan to get the air. Sometimes, some of these cars don't have air conditioning vents in the back. Mine does, but Carolyn's doesn't. And so it was really a trick to leave all the, packaging that we had to put in the car of all the stuff that we brought back from Colorado, to leave air passages through Junie's crate to Mariah's crate. And I put fans on both of them to help assist the cold. You have to understand that if you're driving on the road with a dog and your car breaks down, you need a crate because you're going to have to take that dog out of the car. And if you have it on a leash, it's going to be tougher. If you have it in a crate and you have one of these portable fans, you can put those portable fans on the crate. It just is absolutely important that you do that you bring a fan, even if you don't use it, even if the car is cold enough and the dog is sleeping on its back with its legs up and happy as a clam. Great. You don't know when you're going to get stuck in traffic. Your car is going to overheat. You're going to have a flat tire. We talked about that when I had the flat tire. You really need to understand how to make sure you and your dogs are safe. So I want to talk a little bit about hotels. So I booked all of my hotels on booking.com. And there's a little toggle in filters where it says pet friendly. So you can find hotels that are pet friendly that you can stay at. Well, P.S., that was great. We found all pet-friendly hotels, and when two really big Irish setters walked in, they didn't have a problem. But you have to make sure to check how much they're going to charge you to have the pet, because it may make the difference on what hotel you use. You might use a Holiday Inn Express instead of a Hilton, because it's only $25 for a pet instead of $50 for a pet. And they might charge you for both pets, or they might charge you one fee. So make sure you check with your hotel when you do the pet friendly hotels, what the charge is for the dogs. Yes, Jan. Unmute.
Thank you. I lowered my hand. I was excited about that. One thing I know that I've experienced is I called once and they didn't tell me there was a weight limit. So some hotels limit size. And I walked in with my dog at the time, who was like 70 pounds, and they wanted to send me away. And I was like, basically, spoke to whatever, and they let me, because I wasn't planning on leaving her alone and all this other stuff. But there are hotels that say below 35 pounds or something. are the dogs they allow, and larger dogs they don't.
I'm so glad you pointed that out because that is absolutely true. Sally?
My neighbors have a huge German Shepherd, and they stay at La Quinta, going from Connecticut to Arizona. And their dog was so sick and just like destroyed the room. And they said, it's no problem. We, totally included in the fee, no extra fee. Don't worry about that.
Wow.
And they said basically the German Shepherd was like trashed the room. So that was La Quinta for them.
Wow. And La Quinta is a very good chain to think about as well. Yes, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. There sometimes is a weight restriction. So when you do find a pet-friendly hotel, get the charge for the pet so you can choose, make sure that the weight of the pet is correct, and make sure that they allow multiple pets if you're driving with multiple pets like crazy me. There are crazy things. The other thing I want to alert you to is not only the heat, but we missed by the hair of our chinny chin chin the storms that knocked out all of the electricity and flooded all the roads in West Virginia. We missed it by, I can tell you, we were in our room 5 minutes when the heavens opened. We were there for a little bit of pre-sprinkle, a lot of lightning that goes horizontal, which I was like, I have never seen horizontal lightning, but in West Virginia, you get horizontal lightning. And I was a little worried about the dogs, because we stopped to pick up something to eat back at the hotel and we had to leave them a minute in the car by themselves with the car on. We had 2 sets of keys. That's the other thing. Always bring 2 sets of keys because God forbid you have to pee. And you're driving alone. 2 sets of keys is really important. So you lock the car with the dogs in it. You go in, you pee, you come out. I don't, think the dogs will expire if God forbid the air conditioner breaks down while you're peeing. I mean, I wouldn't go and eat dinner with the dogs in the car. It's just a chance you take that I don't take. But, we all are driving cross country. I always stop at McDonald's because they seem to have the cleanest ladies' rooms. And, that's where I go. But I have 2 sets of keys. So that's always important. I have to tell you, it was really interesting. Right before I left for National, I posted on the Irish Setter Club of America's website what to do to prepare for going cross country, because some of the people are on this call or listen to this call later. Some of them aren't. I don't know why, but I'm sure I've told them, but they all came up to me. I must have had 35 people come up to me and say, thank you so much for putting up your what to do when you're driving cross country with your dog list, so that they would do it. And they would bring me over to their car where I'd see the name tag and all the information they're supposed to have on the name tag. And I was like, you get an A++ and a star. Because, as all of you know, I come here every Wednesday night because I love you guys. And I want to talk with people who have dogs, who have questions about how to travel with them, how to keep them safe. My plan has been referred to as, that plan Deborah puts together. Okay, you don't have to use the MAAP plan. You can say that plan Deborah puts together, because I really want to make sure that you have a plan for your pet. It's like my mission in life, that you have a plan for your pet. So your pet doesn't end up in a shelter, altered or spayed, because you didn't put anything in writing that they can't be, and you didn't put names of people who could come pick them up. And because nobody knew, they just followed the rules. And that's not what you want to do. I want you to follow the rules. That's the purpose of the MAAP plan. You are giving them guidance. You're navigating that journey your pet takes when you can't care for it. So it was really interesting. On our way out, I said there was no real eventfulness. It was quick. It was easy. The last day was the most difficult 8 hours I've driven. The way home, the heat was really killing us. And in fact, the show was really on the last day, which is the most beautiful day. So Jan, I don't know if you've ever been to a dog show, but at a national, the last day is best of breed, where all these beautiful champions with long coats come in and run around the ring. And there were 97 of them. So it's a beautiful sight of red dogs. However, it was so flaming hot that we had baby pools full of ice for the dogs to walk in, for the handlers to walk in, or to get cold rags. Everybody had these cool coats that they were putting on the dogs. We had fans around the rings. We had those misters you get at Disney World, while you're standing online. We had those under tents. We were really well prepared. But as you all know, when you're traveling with your pets, you need to have water, you need to have ice, and you can't really feed your dog ice water. Not good. Water slowly is best. If you can bring I'm sure some of you have watched the divers at the Olympics, and they have these little rags that they wet and wring out and then put against them. Well, we use those for dogs, and we tie them around their neck, not tight, to get the jugular vein here to cool them down. We also put it up against their bellies. And the boys, it's their testicles and everything. You put them there. In the girls, it's just their bellies, because that relieves the heat. Inside the thighs is where you want to do it. You want to spray the dog's paws with alcohol, because that will cool them down. They can't really chug-a-lug water, because if they do, in dogs like mine with deep chests, they'll bloat. Because they'll be panting, and then their stomach will fill with air, and then they'll twist. So water is necessary, but not in big quantities. Better to, spray their paws with alcohol, and have these cool claws in ice water that will enable them to cool down on their bellies and around their neck. It really is of utmost importance. I know, Sally, you have neck things that the girls came with, that you put around their neck while they're walking.
Yeah, absolutely. I have it on their, it's the same as people. Jugular, all the pulse points on the dogs, in the thighs. Yeah, it's the same as dogs and people, and it calms them down right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely, critical. Yeah, and you can't give them the water. No, the ice, especially not ice water.
Right.
Totally.
I mean, you can give them 2 or 3 ice cubes. I mean, if you want them to chew on ice cubes, but if they're panting, they can sometimes aspirate that. So that's not always the best thing. So it's really good to have secondary ways to cool them down. Yes, they need water, but not chug-a-lug. Connie, any other things that I have forgotten that you do for the Wheatons? Because they're a tight-coated dog.
Well, they're actually, they are a single coated dog, but of course they are very hairy, because they are, they were originally used as stock dogs in Ireland. They are a very heat intolerant breed. And so if you have a purebred or even a mixed breed with a heat intolerant breed as part of their DNA, first of all, find out right away, before you take a long cross-country trip, if your dog is heat intolerant, or just walking in the summer. You need to know that right off. And if your dog is heat intolerant, take, the essential equipment. Like Deborah said, the Ryobi fans are fabulous. In fact, everybody in Southern California and even Northern California now who shows during the summer has one Ryobi fan and at least 2 batteries. I have them in my grooming room, and I grab them before I go to a dog show. And the cool coats, and all the other paraphernalia to get your dogs down. Another really good thing that I did through my obedience club was take a canine first aid course. And one of the things that they teach you right off is how to deal with heat stroke in your dog, because it can kill. And make sure that your phone battery is charged in the morning when you set off in the car, unless you've got a plug-in charger to your console or other outlet in your car. And make sure you can get to an emergency vet quickly, and where a 24/7 vet is. Another thing, and you may not always know this, but we do here in California, when we're making the trek between Los Angeles and the Bay Area, or Los Angeles and Sacramento on Interstate 5, which is the main highway that goes from the Mexican border to the Canadian border all along the Pacific coast. There is a spot. Well, we have stockyards too in California, being the biggest ag state in the country. And for us, it is exactly halfway between LA and San Francisco on right off I-5. In fact, the dogs are always passed out in the back of the car. When they smell us going by the stockyards, they stick their noses up. You can hear the sniffing in the back, and then they pass out and go back to sleep. But right about that point, as you're going north, there is an hour's worth of freeway that is absolutely in a cell phone dead zone. And if your car breaks down and it's the summertime, you are SOL. I kid you not. So make sure, if you know that you are going through that area in the summer, that you check in with friends and you tell them, if you don't hear from me, period, by this time this afternoon, call the highway patrol. I kid you not.
No, I have to agree with you, because all of us, when we were leaving, we set a time, we told people where we were going, we told them what time we expected to be there, and we checked in with everyone when we got there. That's really important. You need to have stations across where you're checking in, especially if you're going, like you said, through a dead zone, because it really is so important to have somebody ask, well, did Jan make it to New Mexico? I mean, she was in Texas yesterday, and she said she should have made it by 9 o'clock in the morning, but I haven't heard from her and I can't reach her. Well, you then need to make sure you know who to call and who to check, because you want to make sure that Jan isn't broken down in the middle of the desert in New Mexico on her way somewhere. It really is very important. And I'm so glad you pointed out a first aid class. So there's a woman online, you can all write her name down. Her name is Denise Fleck. And she is I've done many programs with her. She is the person to listen and follow for a first aid. She has the best first aid kits for dogs to go cross country with. I mean, she has everything in it. She's a former vet tech who just started to do what I did, which was she wanted to make sure people who were traveling with their pets had the best first aid kit they could in their car for their pets. So her name is Denise Fleck, and I'll have Rose send you the links to her Facebook page and her website. I know you find this hard to believe after I've driven 29 hours, that I'm having a moment where my brain isn't kicking in, which at least I remembered her name. I'm thinking that's good right now. Since I took a shower, I put a dress on, and I'm in front of you guys because I actually arrived home at 5:15. So I had an hour and 15 minutes to unpack the car, because I'm a lunatic about that. I have to unpack the car and get ready to see all of you. It was very important to me. So we are, of course, over half hour, but I want to ask.
May I just
Sure.
ask, I never heard about alcohol on their feet. I use a wet rag on the bottom.
So like humans, if you give them an alcohol bath, it'll cool them down when they have a fever. So it's the same thing with dogs. If you cool their feet with alcohol, it's going to make them feel cooler. So it's just what we do. I mean, it's just something that really creates that, it just opens the pores and lets the heat out.
So you don't dilute it?
No, I haven't heard of diluting it. I guess you could. I haven't heard of that with water and alcohol. If you're a little, fearful of the alcohol burning their paws, it shouldn't, because their paws shouldn't have cuts on them. But if you're a little skeptical, then what we usually do, quite frankly, is we put the alcohol in the ice bucket. And so the alcohol is cold, and then we shoot the alcohol on their paws so they have cool alcohol on their paws. I don't know, Connie, if you guys do that with the Wheatons. It's sort of what we do in the heat.
And the biggest thing for everybody to first know and second to remember is that dogs do not have pores like we do. They do not exchange heat effectively and efficiently like we do. Correct. So that they can't get rid of excess heat by sweating it out. They can pant a little, they get a little out on the pads of their feet, but otherwise they go down with heat stroke like gangbusters. So that's the biggest thing to be aware of, is when they start showing signs of heat exhaustion before they go into heat stroke, you absolutely, get them cooled down as soon as you can.
Absolutely. And that's, ice baths, that's, getting them into a bath. We use alcohol a lot, and now I'm thinking we usually put some alcohol in the water that we're dumping our cool cloths in, because that also will create more of a chilling effect for them. It is something that we talked about actually at our general meeting, because our nationals are usually in June, and everybody was complaining about, it's really hot in June, and we know. And it was a question of whether or not we were going to have the older dogs part of veterans, which of course all of our hearts are with our older dogs. And some of the people who are there who are in the medical profession, the veterinary medical profession, said, people just might be thinking with their hearts and not with their heads, and want to show their veteran in this heat. Like I would bring Athena and Roxy at 11 and 12, or 12 and 13. I can't believe I'm saying that, to show, because there's a class for them. And, there's a lot of thought about whether or not, I should be able to show my 12-year-old, I should be able to show my 13-year-old. And I was really glad that Junie lost his class when the temperatures were 100 degrees in the ring. I said, thank God he lost. He sat in the motorhome in the air conditioning. He was a happy dog. He wasn't out there for the 20 minutes to run around the ring. So we all have to make decisions for our pets that are important. The summer is really, really treacherous for them, but please don't forget about the winter, because they can really get frostbite quickly. They can really be affected by the cold, their noses, their paws. So we'll talk about that probably during the winter, but I don't want
not right now.
Not now.
because we all want that right now. But remember that weather really does affect them. Thunder and lightning. Hey, Kieran, I want you to pipe in a little bit, because we've sort of ignored what's going on for you with the book. Anything new?
Just a few interesting things to throw up tonight. Just on the dogs and heat, you're probably aware of the 7-second test, as it's called. And you see this all the time, where people are walking the dogs in the street in crazy temperatures, and the dog's paws are probably burning. So the trick is just put the back of your hand on the pavement, and if you can't keep it there for 7 seconds, the dogs have no business being there.
Right. I'm glad you said that, because that was something I was going to say when Jan was talking, and it went gone.
Just on Kathleen, just on the note of diluting the alcohol, I can assure you the Irish setters and Irish wolfhounds would probably object straight away if you diluted the alcohol. Now, there's an event on, and I'm going to put it up on the text here on the side. Our friend Spencer is having his sort of maiden conference on Friday evening.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'm going to speak at it for about 2 or 3 minutes. And the issue I'll be talking about is Wednesday next week, the 21st, Tuesday the 21st next week is a special day in the legal calendar, because it is the bicentenary of the first parliamentary act to protect animals from cruelty.
Oh, wow.
200 years, and it was in England, it was, or Britain rather, it was called the Martins Act, and it was brought in by an Irish politician. But this was, when I was researching this character, I thought, oh my God, a strange one altogether. He was an army officer, very wealthy landlord in Ireland. He was also a lawyer, then a member of parliament. And he spent 16 years to try and get any animal legislation through. But he was also involved in Catholic emancipation and the abolition of the slave trade. So the interesting thing about his legal world was he was a bit of a wild character. And he survived 2 shipwrecks, and he used his military skills to resolve a lot of disputes. So he was involved in quite a lot of duels with either the sword or the gun. So if you got into a dispute with him, you might say, that's my type of lawyer.
I love you, Kieran. You always come with such a wonderful story to tell, which is why I never, ever want you to leave without telling us the story because it's so important. I'm so glad that Spencer's Rebound Dog, if any of you want to check it out, it's on Facebook, Rebound Dog. He is an advocate for animals. He's bringing together like-minded people who are advocating for animals. And it's just going to be a really great conference. I don't know that I'll be able to attend because I'm going to be speaking at ACVIM at 10 a.m. on the 21st. So I'm not sure that the times work out, but if they do, I, of course, will be there listening to you speak, Karen. So there you go.
Yeah. Just one last thing. It's something I'm going to bring up on Friday. Can you put a date or how many years has it been since the humans trained the first animal?
Oh my God.
Yes.
That would have been prehistorically, right?
You're on the right track. You're on the right track now.
Yeah, because didn't what are they? I don't want to say Cro-Magnon. I don't think it was them, but maybe that taught the animals to help them hunt and then sit by the fire. Wasn't that? So maybe I can't even hazard a guess. How about you, Connie or Jan or Kathy or Sally?
It would probably be in that time frame, I would think.
No, you got it straight out, Debbie. It's somewhere between 23 and 40,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what basically happened was it was the Stone Age when the population were nomads, and they had to keep moving because they were always in danger from wolves and bears.
Right.
And then they discovered if they left a certain amount of food at a safe distance from the cave or the camp, the wolves, out of habit, would just eat, but not kill the goose that laid the golden egg. And that basically allowed the humans the protection against all other species, including bears. And that was the beginning of the end of the Stone Age, because with that protection, straight away in came stability and the agricultural revolution within 40 or 50,000 years. So the strange thing is that what we're doing at the moment with trying to organize animal welfare with our laptops has a curious connection in that nearly everybody who works with a laptop is a nomad in one form or another now. And the primary driver, the primary driver of all laptops and mobile phones is silicon, which is stone.
That's right.
So we are back in the digital Stone Age.
My goodness.
What wonderfully put, and wonderfully something to leave us to think about for sure. So Kieran, of course, is our wonderful thinker on this meeting and community. And so, knowing that animals have helped us since prehistoric times, since the beginning of the end of the Stone Age, and also that we are now using silicon that brings us back to the Stone Age because that's what silicon is made from. So, wow, what a way to finish this up tonight, Kieran. You are the best.
But the crucial element here is, you see, that back in the Stone Age, if you like, dogs or the wolves actually adopted the people.
I know
the other way around.
Yep.
But what's quite interesting here, and it really puts us to shame in the modern age, is no action was taken without considering what the outcome might be. Whereas one of the discussions we've often had in this group is people get dogs before they even think about anything, and it's usually an impulse purchase or a sort of an accessory for the house.
Right.
Whereas in the Stone Age, the thinking was a lot clearer. If we do this, we depend on these animals either for protection or for our own existence. So it was thinking before the act. And then going back to, I've put this thing about martens in the up in the text.
Perfect.
It's well worth a read. And there's one thing there, and I think it's quite incredible, which is 2 years after he set up the act, the first SPCA was formed. and
Wow.
he was sort of he was one of the leading lights behind it. But in the same year it was formed, he tried to get this thing called the Horse Slaughterhouse Act passed by Parliament. Now he lost this one as well. He lost most. You know yourself with legislation, people try for years and years
And years and years and years.
But the interesting thing about the horse slaughterhouse was he tried to set up a sort of a strict liability legislation where the owners of these slaughterhouses would have to give written proof that they had actually purchased standard food for all the horses they were keeping. Now, that didn't happen, and what we have today with most of the SPCAs is they chase the game and they're mopping up the problems. Whereas this guy set the agenda that we should be doing this in terms of the liability at the owner's feet.
Right. Yep.
And unfortunately, 200 years have passed and we missed that opportunity. So I would say it's up to the digital nomads of the 20th of the digital age to resolve it now.
I have to agree with you. You know, I talk about that all the time when I speak with people who breed dogs or who have horses. I said, if you're bringing them into the world, you have to commit to those animals 24/7 for their entire life. Otherwise, you shouldn't really be breeding that dog. And the interesting thing is both the breeder and the buyer want different things. They breed the dog to sell the dog to make money, and the buyer finds the dog and buys the dog and wants nothing to do with the breeder. And somehow we have to fix that dynamic so that the breeder isn't overbearing, but is a mentor and will take the dog back, no questions asked, because without them, the dog wouldn't be here. So they commit to the dog for life. And the buyers need to understand that that kind of commitment is to be appreciated and not spurned, because it really is something that's you should appreciate. It's funny, Marty Becker put up something about the number of dogs that are now showing up in shelters because of people going back to work, and I'm trying not to have the sun in my face. And I said to him, you know, we really need to help people who are getting pets, you know, Kieran, because you wrote the book. Know what they should be looking for, whether they adopt from a shelter or they buy from a breeder. They should look for certain things that are going to support them in a successful relationship with their pets. The shelters should help. The rescues should help. They should be reachable and assist that people in being successful pet owners, not be overbearing, but be really clear about what it is you need to do to obtain a pet. And of course, breeders need to understand that these people want these dogs and they want them for various reasons. And if in fact it doesn't turn out, I'll never forget when a guy called me and said he had sold his daughter's beloved pony to a girl who wanted to do dressage, and it was a big pony, and she found out about a month after she purchased it was much too much for her, and she called him and she said, the pony is much too much for me, you know, I'd like to return him and get my money back. And he said, hey, you know, learn how to ride. And then he found out she put the horse to sleep, and he was devastated that his daughter's pony was put to sleep. It was only about 12 years old. But I said to him, so she called, right? And he said, yeah. And she said she couldn't ride the pony, right? And he said, yeah. And she wanted her money back. And you said, no, yeah. I said, so she did everything she could to let you know that that animal wasn't working for her. And if you were the sort of, Kieran, what you're speaking about, if you are the guardian of this pet, then you would take it back, return her money. Now, I know there's a lot who will argue that, you know, no, that's not the way it goes. You should do research before you get the pet. But in my neck of the woods with my dogs, there is no amount of money that it's worth for me not to get my dogs back, no matter what. And I never make anybody feel bad. I never say, you know, I had one woman return it because her boyfriend didn't like the dog. Okay, come back. Here's your money. Didn't care, because if you're bringing these dogs into the world, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kieran, you should make a commitment. And as far as, you know, the relationship the Stone Age and post-Stone Age people had with animals to protect them and to feed them so they could protect them, it was a mutually positive relationship between the two. And everybody was getting something positive out of it. And somewhere that flip-flopped, and somebody's getting a positive and somebody's not getting a positive. So we need to recognize that we know we get 110%, 150% of positive from our pets. And sometimes we get, like the German Shepherd who got sick and tore the room apart, we don't get the positives. But then we're responsible for making sure that things are made right. But our pets really deserve 100% of our commitment to them, and always positive. And if we can't, as I always say, when people say, well, they should just keep their dog if they, why are they dropping it off? Holy Toledo, if I can't keep my dog because I can't feed it, or I can't feed my family, or I just don't like it, I just don't like this dog, great, please give it up, because we don't want people to keep dogs they don't like. We really want them to give them back or give them to a shelter and have that dog find a home that's going to be better, or, unfortunately, be euthanized. I know that Marty Becker didn't answer my post, which I was a little sad about that, because it really is important to make sure we support really responsible breeders who mentor, who make sure people know what they're getting into with a Wheaton, with an Irish setter, with a mixed breed for Jan, right? Jan, you have a mixed guy, right? But, you have to know what you're getting into. And this is a conversation you have to have. You can't not have that conversation because the pet's future depends on it. Kathy has two little babies. One's an English Cocker and one's an Irish. And they are the epitome grand champions of counter surfing. And, Kathy and Michael are doing their best to make sure that they learn not to counter surf, and they love them anyway. It's not like, well, these dogs are going to be locked in the pantry because, they counter surf. No, there are a number of really delicious meals that have been eaten by other than Kathy and Michael, because the girls have gotten to them first. And, it's just, you really need to understand what you're willing to do to love these animals as they love you. So in signing off tonight, I'm going to ask everyone to let me know what you think about, what I just said. I mean, because it is important for me to get feedback when I do these pontifications, that you tell me how it is when you're making a plan for your pet and you're addressing their needs and you're appointing people to care for them and you're publishing it. What is the most important thing to you when it comes to keeping your pets safe? Sally, I'm going to start with you.
Perfect. Idiosyncrasies. I just walked with the prospective new dog sitter, and we went down the road. Immediately, Amazon truck came zooming up the road. She had one dog, I had the other, and we had them on the flex leads. I immediately pulled the dog in, and she's kind of like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And I grabbed the other dog by the collar. I go, okay, 6-foot leads for these dogs. And I went out and bought them today. So I think, you just completely observe and see, just idiosyncrasies, whatever that is for your dog, put it down, let the caregiver know.
Perfect. Jan?
I think for me, the most important thing is Tonka has some health issues. So is really finding someone who's going to be able to follow the quote unquote protocol that he needs twice daily. It's morning and evening. So whoever I get has to be able to carry that through so he doesn't relapse.
Right. Right. And that's something, and you have to put that out there because it's only honesty that's going to get us to have our pets remain safe.
Yeah. I mean, as I look for somebody local again, like the girl who I used to bring him to knows everything. It's she has it at her house. Unless something changes, she keeps a file with his, with his protocol in it. So unless something changes, and then I have to let her know. But as I find someone new, that's priority on my list.
Absolutely. Connie?
Well, I too have Patsy, Casey's mom, has serious health issues. She developed idiopathic generalized epilepsy at the age of 4 after a flea tick heartworm topical medication, which we have discontinued, of course. But she is on, seizure control medication. Fortunately, not phenobarb or anything horrible. But when I cannot be here, even for day boarding circumstances, both of them go to the vet. I have a fabulous veterinary practice right down the hill from me. Beautiful facility, very air conditioned, and their boarding facilities are fabulous. So when they are there, I don't worry, regardless of where I am.
Yeah, there's always someone there who knows what to do.
Oh, I'm just going to say good night. It was a great session as usual, Debbie. Great session as usual.
Well, I am so glad you brought it up, because it is so important for us to recognize when animals and people got together, it was a mutually beneficial relationship. And somehow that slipped off the dock for some, and we need to put it back there, because it is a mutually beneficial relationship for everyone. And that's why you need a MAAP plan, so that God forbid something happened to you, you have taken the steps to make sure this pet is taken care of in case something happens to you. So I'm going to say good night. It's Deborah Hamilton, ADR North Carolina, and the MAAP community call. I'm so glad all of you are here. And until next week, kiss all your babies for me.